Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. My name is Janine McGowan, and this is my Flosstube channel where I talk about cross-stitch and dogs and whatever else comes to mind. I'm so sorry I missed you last weekend. I tell you, not sleeping is one of those things that really reminds me that I'm not as young as I once was. You know, back in the day, I could stay up all night and then just carry on the next day. And now if I don't sleep for some reason, even if it's as it was, a silly reason, just couldn't turn my brain off. Boy, the next morning I'm shambling around like a zombie and I can't use complete sentences. So it's probably better that I didn't do a video because who knows how that would have gone. But I did miss you, so it's nice to be here with you again today. Jumping right into stitching in action, we have 3 great submissions today. First off, Molly stitched the Haunted Hound, and I love the way she finished this as an ornament. I'm also very pleased that Molly has 2 beautiful life models that she can use for her stitching. So I believe it's Mercury and Fishbine get to be immortalized in her stitching more often than not. So thank you, Molly, for sharing that with us, and what a great finish. Next up, we have Moggie Manor. This is stitched by Darlene, and she's had lots of cats over the years, so she's commemorated some of them with this stitch, and she is a monogamous stitcher, which I fully applaud. I used to be that way and I sort of fell off the path, but I don't regret my choices, and I hope she doesn't regret hers, because I think you should stitch the way that works for you. So I applaud you, Darlene, for being monogamous. I'm very appreciative that you chose to spend some of your time on this design and to feature your cats. Now, Darlene didn't know which of her cats she wanted to commemorate particularly, so she left off the bottom line of the design that has space for a particular cat's name, and so she just stopped with the cats watching the koi. So thank you, Darlene, for sharing that. Finally, this week we have Starry Moth. Teresa continues to amaze me with her color choices. She's done yet another beautiful version of Starry Moth, and I think this might be my favorite, because I love it. I love the greens. I love it. Now, if you haven't seen Teresa's versions before, they're all up on the website on the Stitching in Action page, so you can go and take a look at the different ways that she's been playing with the Starry Moth pattern and getting properly drunk with power. So thank you, Teresa, for sharing that with us. As always, if you've stitched a blue flower design and you'd like to share it with the world, or if you want to see what other people have done and be inspired, send it to me, and the Stitching in Action page on the website is there for you to take a look at. What I'm stitching, I've actually gotten some personal stitching in, which is a treat always, and I've started the Things of Spring just a little bit. The light in here is a little weird this morning, so we're just going to do our best. But this is by Posie, and I've got a couple of elements done. This is a very satisfying design to stitch because with my limited time, I get pretty much a motif done every time I sit down. So far, I have the umbrella, the sweater, and a little garden trowel done. It's going to be really hard to see this, so you'll get a better idea from the picture. And yeah, we'll just keep posted. It is very nice to work on. Someone asked if I'm going to stitch them all together in a line and then sew them up, and I think I'm going to stitch them, although they're on the same fabric, as separate blocks, because it would bother me to only have the seam in one corner. So I'm going to have a seam on all 4 corners, and then wait and see when I'm done with them what fabric I want to use for the top and the base, and then go ahead and do the back stitching around each panel to coordinate with that. So just a little bit done, but it's been a lot of fun. All right, stash spotlight. I've got just a little something here. This is a little bitty vintage sewing box, nothing special. So the cute little design on the top. It's made of wood, which I always love. It's in the arts and crafts style, which I love. The Etsy seller said it's a sewing box, which fits well. I am constantly looking for things that are made of wood, particularly, that I can use to prop up models at market and for photographs and things like that, and that I just enjoy having around my office. So this fits the bill. It's not too big, it doesn't take up too much space, it's not expensive, so it's right in my wheelhouse for that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed that. Now, I feel like I'm flying through my list, and I think it's because I know I have a lot to discuss, because of new releases, which we'll get to later. But first, we're going to do the world around. And this week, it's hedgehogs for reasons which will be clear. So, hedgehogs. I actually was fortunate enough at Jingle Ball to talk to somebody who has hedgehogs. So that was a lot of fun, and I hope that she will teach me some things in the comments as well. But as for what I've learned online, hedgehogs are recognizable primarily for their sharp, pointy quills all over most of their bodies, except for hands, feet, nose, and belly. Those quills, I didn't realize, they're actually sharper and pointier than those of a porcupine, which is kind of amazing. They can eat 1/3 of their body weight every evening. They're mostly nocturnal, and that food that they like so much to eat, although they're omnivores, is primarily insects, snails, slugs. So they're wonderful garden companions and very welcomed in the garden because they can really come out in the evening and just go to town on some of the things that you may not want to have. So they have a great relationship with gardeners that way. They have a special muscle that's, I think, on their back that actually forms kind of a bag, and so they can tuck their whole body into this muscle, and it contracts and seals them into that hedgehog ball, and they can even sleep in this ball. So it's spines on the whole outside and all of their vulnerable parts inside, and they're fully protected. And in fact, the word for the collective noun for a group of hedgehogs is a roll because of that ball shape. I think at some point I will design a roll of hedgehogs together because I have some ideas around that. But that's the way that they protect themselves. It would take a very, very strong predator like a wolverine to actually be able to access a hedgehog without getting skewered by those spines and get past that muscle. They do have also special muscles on their back that allow them to point the spines in any direction that they would like. So they're very well protected. They're not native to North America. Apparently there used to be a hedgehog that was here, but it was an ancient species and it's very long extinct. There are something like 17 species of native hedgehogs, but they all come from Africa, Europe, and Asia at this point. They have an unusual resistance to toxins and poisons, which allows them to eat things like snakes, scorpions, and even toxic plants. So they come into contact with venomous animals and insects, but also toxic plants, and they have an unusual behavior where they call it anointing, but they can chew on a toxic plant, work up a good mouthful of spit, and then rub it on themselves and give themselves yet another sort of layer of protection with that toxin all over them. Very, very cool. They mostly live on the ground, but they can also climb trees and swim, which I don't know why that astonishes me, but they can swim very well, apparently. Now, they're mostly kept as pets here in North America, depending on where it's legal, in fact, to do that. You would need to be very careful, but I am absolutely guilty of following people online who keep them as pets around the world because they're just so beautiful. And if you're lucky enough to live in a place where they are existing in the wild, that is so awesome, and I hope you get to appreciate them because they're pretty amazing animals. Now, on to questions. The question last week was, when do you take down your holiday decorations? We got lots of different answers. And this week, the question is, are you thinking about gardening? I had a little brain moment there. I haven't had a lot of coffee yet today either. But this time of year, I tell you, I am thinking about gardening a lot more than it probably warrants because it's too early to do anything. But I think that's the time when it's when I'm my best gardener. I am an unstoppable gardener this time of year. I have all the seed catalogs ready. I am limited in no way by climate or budget or space. I am just perfectly amazing. Only my imagination stops me in my gardening. In a month or two, when it's time to plant seeds and I have to actually consider what I can realistically grow here, it's different. But for right now, my garden is pure potential. And I love it. So I do think about the garden quite a bit this time of year. And I was curious whether that's normal for other people or whether they wait until it's actually time to do some gardening before they start thinking about it. All right, on to best things. Now I have 6 new releases coming out at market, although one or two of them are things that have been released sort of for special events before. So I'm going to go through all of them. As I said, the light in here this morning is a little weird, so we're going to do our best, but I'm going to stop after I go through them and put in the good photographs of each one so you can get a closer look. But we're going to go through each one so you can see what they look like. Starting off, this one is called In Praise of Pollinators, and I really wanted to do something that featured lots of pollinators. Obviously, I love bees, and I think they're great, but beyond just the European honeybee, there are so many amazing native bees, and then beyond bees, there are so many wonderful pollinators. We'll see if we can get some good looks here. I've got a lemur. Let's see. We've got different kinds of bees. Obviously the moth, there's a bat, a little parakeet, an iwi. We've got a moth. This is a mourning dove and a flicker. Let's see. Oh, there's some ladybirds. There's a gecko, hummingbirds, a beetle, and then various native bees here in this sort of beehive shape, along with some of the flowers that are particularly pollinated. Oh, we've got a honey possum here. And I just really wanted to do this because it's sort of an explosion of life made possible by this explosion of tiny creatures. So this one, In Praise of Pollinators, it's not actually too large, but it is pretty dense. So again, all the details will be on the website in a little bit, but taking a look at that. Next up, this one is one that I did for the Houston Embroidery Guild anniversary, I think 2 years ago. And they had a bee theme. So I did something that was inspired by like a Victorian conservatory, you know, with a really elaborate white ironwork in the glass in between. And this is called Bees in the Greenhouse. It is really awful to photograph, and I'm sorry. But basically it's got all these different panels with different flowers. And in this case, again, more native bees. I did these sort of panels up to the top looking like, again, ironwork, elaborate, and then just a simple thing. If you want to take a look at how it's put together, I do have the instructions already on the website so you can see. It's not too dissimilar from the Biscorn-Roo where you make the shapes and then you just basically stitch up between the edges. But it was a lot of fun to do, and I would love to see somebody do it with different colors for the ironwork design so they show up better. But this one was, yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I liked doing a new shape, so that was a treat. All right. Next up, as promised, we have Tutor Greyhound. Let's see, and I actually did, this is very, again, very difficult. Let's see. I've got a thick spring-inspired border with the greyhound leaping through. This is Tutor Hound officially, and I tried to make it so that it would be easy to change the colors of the dog to match yours and maybe even tweak the shape a little bit. But we've got Tutor Hound and Tutor Hare. They're exactly the same size, they use the same threads, and they're on the same fabric, but a hare and hound together just seemed like they were appropriate. And I really loved them. I got to stitch these two myself, and it was a treat. I think it'll be really fun to have these in the Tudor grouping. Now, I feel like I'm just going so fast this morning, and I don't know if that's true or if it just feels that way. But anyway, next up, these last two are kind of, again, one new and one a little bit older, but coming to shops for the first time. Cottage Garden Threads, you know I love, and they're coming to the Nashville Needlework Market in March for the first time. And I have resisted using their threads because I know it's hard for shops to get them. But they said they were coming, and I had just ordered some threads, which I actually showed in the last video. So I wanted to do a new design. This is just a little quickie, and it's called Hedgehog and Hyacinth. And this is one of those funny things where people ask me all the time, where do you get ideas for things? This one is because of pub signs. I was thinking of pub signs, you know, the goat and barrel, the this and that. And so I was thinking of like ampersand, something and something else. And so here we have the Hedgehog and Hyacinth, but I had this cottage garden thread, which was these beautiful purples and pinks. And the way that I stitched it, there's a block of 9 stitches at the base, and every thread started out purple. So I stitched those 9, and then I just stitched around the flower with the rest of the thread, and it came out pink, and I love the way it came out. And again, for the hedgehog, I wanted to really show off the variegation of color without doing the spikes. And so I basically did it, you know, the way you mow the lawn, where you do the outline and then you just keep making smaller and smaller circles. And so that's what I did with that very variegated thread. It's got little, again, I'm sorry, the light here is just awful today, but we'll get the big pictures in there. They've got their little welly boots on, and there's a beautiful green thread here and some lovely lady dot chenille in the back. And so it's also, because they're coming, you'll be able to let shops know that they can get the thread pack for these. There are 3 cottage garden threads used here, and then the rest DMC. So if you want to get the thread pack to go with them, be sure and let your shop know so that they can let Cottage Garden know, and they can be sure to bring enough. The last one that I'm doing, and many of you have already seen this or already have this, is the Hearts for Pam Seasons of the Heart design. This is all Australian designs. This is going to be the first time it's ever actually printed, because it's only been available either through Cottage Garden Threads fundraiser or as a PDF online. But again, because they're coming and they're going to have the Hearts for Pam thread pack available for sale, a number of designers are going to be presenting their Hearts for Pam designs, and so you'll be able to pick that up. If you haven't seen it, we've got all sorts of Australian animals here. It's a celebration of just color and fun and interest. And as I said, if you want to use the Cottage Garden Threads pack, you can pick up several designs that were made specifically for those threads. Now, that's it for new releases. I'll take a pause here for a minute and go ahead and put the photos in so you can look at them closely, and then I'll pick back up. Okay, jumping back in to giveaway. Last week we had the lovely Biscorn-Roo with the kangaroos from Handlebar, and the beautiful Cottage Garden threads that go with it. I'll get them all corralled here. And the winner of that one, oh, before I pick the winner, the code word was Australia. And let me just say in the comments, how many of us would really very much like to go to Australia someday? I definitely count myself among that number. I've never been. It's for sure a bucket list, and I hope that someday we all get to go. Wouldn't that be grand? But until then, the winner who gets to stitch this lovely design is Pediatric Cross Stitcher. So get in touch with me, drop me a message with your mailing address, and I will get that in the mail for you. Now, giveaway this time, 6 new releases, 6 winners. If you use the word garden in your comments, because I seem to have a lot of garden themed things going on in my new releases, I will pick 6 winners, and you can have any of my designs, including the new ones, sent to you, either hard copy or PDF, whichever you prefer. Announcements. Obviously, lots going on. I said we took down our Christmas, I don't know if I did say, we took down our holiday decorations, we cleared the house, and I'm about to start filling it up with folded charts for market and packed boxes ready to go to Nashville. So it's a brief respite, but we're enjoying it at the moment. Within the next week, either this weekend, but probably next weekend, I will have the February email out, the newsletter, and that'll have the links for all of the new releases with the specifics going up on the website. Also, because it's new release time, the last round of releases from last year will be going up on the website, available as PDFs. So there'll be a lot going on in that next one. Shop emails have already been sent out, so if you're curious about putting in orders, contact your shop. They should have all the info already, or they can contact me and get anything that they need from that. So it's been really lovely to chat with you today. I'm very glad I got to see you. We should have 2 more chats before I head off to Nashville. So that's it for me today. I'm going to go back to packing charts and getting ready. We've got a little puppy video here at the end, and should be a quiet weekend for us, or at least a busy but staying home weekend. Mosie's had a little bit of a tummy issue, so she's not as much wanting to walk every 5 minutes, so I might get quite a bit done, but at least 1 or 2 walks with her anyway. I hope you have a very lovely weekend. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I will see you again, hopefully in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.